In the Bible, there are many stories about famous prophets and kings, but there are also some mysterious characters who have incredible stories. Even though their appearances are brief, these figures leave a lasting impression and show us the extraordinary and supernatural side of the Bible. In this video, we are going to look at the top 12 mysterious figures from biblical history. Their stories make us curious and spark lots of debates. One such figure, sought out by a desperate king, has sparked debates about the boundaries between the living and the dead. Who could this be? Let's find out, starting with number 12. Number 12. The mystery of Enoch. Enoch is one of the most mysterious and interesting people in the Bible. His story is found in Genesis 5 verse 24, which says, "Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more because God took him away." This short but powerful statement sets Enoch apart because he did not die like everyone else. Instead, God took him straight to heaven. This shows how close Enoch was to God and how much God liked him. In the book of Hebrews 11 verse 5, we learn more about Enoch. It says, "By faith Enoch was taken from this life, so that he did not experience death. He could not be found because God had taken him away." So before he was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God. This means that Enoch had great faith and lived in a way that made God very happy. Because of this, God gave him the special honor of not having to die. Enoch's story has also influenced many Jewish and Christian writings, especially in a book called the Book of Enoch. Although this book is not part of the official Bible, it tells much more about Enoch's visions and his role as a messenger between heaven and earth. In these writings, Enoch is shown as a wise prophet who understands deep secrets about the universe and the spiritual world. Number 11. The Witch of Endor. The Witch of Endor is one of the most mysterious and controversial characters in the Bible. Her story is found in 1 Samuel 28 verse 7 to 20, during a troubling time for King Saul. As the Philistine army is preparing to fight Israel, Saul becomes very worried because he is not getting any answers from God through dreams, prophets, or special tools called the Urim and Thummim. Feeling desperate, Saul decides to visit a medium, or witch, in a place called Endor. He wants her to bring back the spirit of the dead prophet Samuel to ask for advice. This act of trying to contact the dead, known as necromancy, is something Saul himself had banned, making his actions both ironic and troubling. The meeting with the Witch of Endor is spooky and dramatic. At first, the witch does not know who Saul is and is scared because necromancy is illegal. But Saul promises she won't get in trouble and asks her to summon Samuel. When she sees Samuel's spirit, she is shocked, possibly because she did not expect it to actually work. The spirit of Samuel, now disturbed from his rest, scolds Saul and tells him that he and his sons will die in battle and that God has given the kingdom to David. People have debated for a long time about whether it was really Samuel's spirit or some kind of trick or evil spirit. The story treats the spirit as if it is really Samuel, suggesting that God allowed this one last communication to warn Saul. The Witch of Endor herself remains a puzzling figure. Her role in the story raises questions about the differences between approved and forbidden practices in ancient Israel, showing that understanding divine laws can be complicated. Number 10. The Angel of the Lord. The Angel of the Lord is one of the most mysterious and fascinating figures in the Old Testament, showing up at important times and directly talking to people. This angel is not like other angels. It often seems to speak and act with the authority of God himself. In Genesis 22 verse 11 to 12, the angel of the Lord calls out to Abraham from heaven to stop him from sacrificing his son, Isaac. The angel says, "Now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." This makes it seem like the angel is speaking as God, showing a special connection between the angel and God. Another example is in Judges 6 verse 11 to 24, where the angel of the Lord appears to Gideon. The angel performs a miracle by making fire rise from a rock to burn an offering. The angel tells Gideon, "I will be with you," and Gideon becomes very afraid because he realizes he has seen the angel of the Lord face to face. This again blurs the line between an angel and God, suggesting the angel might be a visible form of God. In Numbers 22, the angel of the Lord appears in the story of Balaam and his donkey. The angel stands in the road to block Balaam, who is going to curse the Israelites. The angel's presence and authority show that it can judge and guide human actions directly, acting as God's special messenger. Some scholars believe that the angel of the Lord could be an early appearance of Jesus Christ before he came to earth as a human. This idea is called a Christophany. They think this because the angel speaks with God's authority, accepts worship, and connects heaven and earth in a unique way. After the New Testament begins, the angel of the Lord no longer appears, which supports this idea. Number 9. The man wrestled by Jacob. The story of Jacob wrestling with a mysterious man is one of the most exciting and meaningful stories in the Bible. This event happens in Genesis 32, verse 24 to 30, just before Jacob is about to meet his brother Esau, who he hasn't seen in many years. Jacob is worried about this meeting because he had tricked Esau before. One night, a man appears and starts wrestling with Jacob. This wrestling match goes on all night until the sun starts to come up. Many people think this man was an angel or even God in human form. This fight wasn't just about who was stronger. It was a very important moment for Jacob's spirit and his future. Jacob holds on tight and refuses to let the man go until he gets a blessing. The man then gives Jacob a new name, Israel, which means he struggles with God. This new name shows that Jacob has changed. He's no longer just someone who tricks others to get what he wants. Now, he is someone who has faced great challenges and has overcome them with God's help. The identity of this mysterious man is very interesting. While the story calls him a man, what happens during and after the wrestling match makes it clear he is not just a normal person. Many believe this man was an angel or even God himself. This idea is supported when Jacob names the place Peniel, which means face of God, because he says, "It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." Number 8. The Queen of Sheba. The Queen of Sheba is a fascinating character from the Bible, known for visiting King Solomon to see if his wisdom was as great as everyone said. This story is found in 1 Kings 10, verse 1 to 13. The Queen of Sheba was very wealthy, smart, and curious. She wanted to test Solomon by asking him tough questions and observing how he ran his kingdom. People believe that the Queen of Sheba came from a place that is now part of modern-day Yemen or Ethiopia. The exact location isn't clear, but her visit was more than just a curiosity trip. It showed the growing importance of Solomon's kingdom and the recognition it was getting from other powerful regions. The queen brought many gifts and was very impressed by Solomon's answers and the wealth and order of his court. This meeting was not just about exchanging gifts, but also about political and intellectual connections. When she talked with Solomon, she told him that his wisdom and riches were even greater than she had heard. This part of the story shows how respected Solomon was, and how his kingdom was seen as favored by God. In addition to the biblical account, the Queen of Sheba's story has taken on even more meaning in different cultures and religions. For example, in Ethiopian Christian tradition, it is believed that she had a son named Menelik I with Solomon. Menelik is considered an ancestor of Ethiopian kings, connecting the country's history directly to Solomon's dynasty. Number 7. The Two Witnesses. The two witnesses in the book of Revelation, described in Revelation 11 verse 3 to 12, are mysterious and powerful figures in the Bible. They are given special powers by God to preach for 1,260 days, dressed in sackcloth, which shows they are mourning and calling people to repent. These witnesses can do amazing things like stopping the rain and turning water into blood. This reminds people of the miracles performed by the Old Testament prophets Elijah and Moses. making some think these witnesses might be these prophets returned. During their mission, a beast from the abyss kills them, showing the big fight between God's messengers and evil forces. Their bodies lie in the streets of a city called Sodom in Egypt, which refers to Jerusalem, where Jesus was crucified. This public display is meant to humiliate them and show people rejecting their message. But after 3.5 days, they come back to life and go up to heaven in a cloud while their enemies watch in fear, proving that God supports them and their message is true. This story is full of symbols and has been understood in different ways. Some people believe the two witnesses will really appear at the end of time, while others think they symbolize something else, like the faithful church or the Old and New Testaments. Their work and miracles show that they are God's messengers during a tough time, bringing hope and truth when there is a lot of deception and conflict. Number 6. The prophet from Judah. In 1 Kings 13, there is a mysterious and serious story about a prophet from Judah. This prophet, whose name we don't know, was sent by God to deliver a message to King Jeroboam of Israel. King Jeroboam was making an offering at an altar in Bethel when the prophet arrived. The prophet told Jeroboam that the altar would be destroyed and that a future king named Josiah would come and fulfill this prophecy. To show God's power, the prophet made Jeroboam's hand wither and then healed it, proving he was a true messenger of God. After this dramatic moment, the story takes a strange twist. God had commanded the prophet not to eat or drink in Bethel and to return home by a different route. However, an old prophet living in Bethel tricked him. The old prophet lied, saying an angel told him to invite the prophet from Judah to his house for food and drink. Believing the lie, the prophet from Judah disobeyed God's command and went to the old prophet's house. Because of his disobedience, the prophet from Judah received a new, dire prophecy from the old prophet. He was told that he would not be buried in his family's tomb, which was a serious consequence. As the prophet from Judah was traveling home, a lion attacked and killed him on the road. The strange part was that the lion did not eat his body or harm the donkey he was riding. This unusual scene, with the lion, the prophet's body, and the donkey all together, was a sign from God showing the importance of following his commands. Number 5. King Agur. King Agur is a mysterious figure mentioned only in Proverbs 30. Unlike the famous King Solomon, who is known for writing many proverbs, not much is known about Agur, making him a subject of curiosity and study. Agur begins his sayings with a humble admission of his own lack of understanding, saying, "Surely I'm too stupid to be a man. I have not the understanding of a man." This shows his humility and makes his wisdom feel more relatable and genuine. Instead of pretending to know everything, Agur openly admits that he doesn't fully understand the ways of God, which is different from the usual confident tone of other wisdom literature. In Proverbs 30, Agur shares a collection of wise sayings that cover various topics, from nature to human behavior. He often uses numerical proverbs, which list a certain number of things and then draw a deeper lesson from them. For example, he might list 3 things and then add a 4th, using these observations to teach moral and spiritual lessons. This style shows that Agur's wisdom comes from carefully watching the world around him and recognizing patterns that teach about life and God's creation. There isn't much information about Agur's life or background, leading some scholars to suggest that Agur might not be a real king, but a symbolic name that means gatherer or collector of wisdom. This idea means that Agur's sayings were valued for their unique insights, regardless of whether he was an actual king. This mystery adds to the appeal of his words, allowing people to appreciate his wisdom without being influenced by who he might have been. Number 4. The sons of God and Nephilim. In Genesis 6, verse 1-4, there's a mysterious and puzzling story about the sons of God and the Nephilim. This story describes how the sons of God, often thought to be angels or divine beings, married human women. These unions led to the birth of the Nephilim, who were giants or mighty men, known for their strength and renown. The term sons of God has different interpretations. Some believe these were angels who disobeyed God by marrying human women, which caused chaos and corruption. Others think sons of God refers to the descendants of Seth, Adam's son, who mixed with the descendants of Cain, leading to moral decline. Regardless of the interpretation, this story highlights a time of great wickedness on earth, which eventually led to God's decision to send the great flood. The Nephilim, the children of these unions, were seen as powerful and possibly dangerous figures. Their presence contributed to the increase in evil and violence, prompting God to regret creating humanity and to decide to cleanse the world with the flood. The Nephilim are not just physical giants, but also represent moral and spiritual corruption. This story raises questions about the interactions between divine beings and humans, the consequences of such interactions, and the extent of corruption that can arise. The tale of the sons of God and the Nephilim sets the stage for the flood, showing the need for divine intervention to restore order and righteousness to the world. Number 3. The 4 living creatures. The 4 living creatures are amazing and important beings in the Bible, described in Ezekiel 1 verse 5 to 10 and Revelation 4 verse 6 to 8. These creatures are covered with eyes all over, and each has 4 faces: a lion, an ox, a man, and an eagle. They are always around God's throne and are full of meaning and importance. In Ezekiel's vision, these creatures move with the wheels of God's chariot, showing that they are part of how God rules the world. Each face stands for something different: the lion for wild animals, the ox for farm animals, the man for people, and the eagle for birds. This means they represent all of God's creation and show that God is in charge of everything. The creatures constantly say, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty," which reminds everyone of how great and holy God is. In Revelation, these creatures are also seen worshiping God. They never stop praising Him, which shows how God deserves our constant worship and how He is always the same, always good and powerful. The many eyes on these creatures show that God sees everything and knows everything, emphasizing that nothing is hidden from God. Number 2. The mysterious rider on the white horse. The rider on the white horse is a mysterious character in the Bible, found in Revelation 6 verse 2. He is one of the 4 horsemen of the Apocalypse. People have different ideas about who this rider is and what he represents. The rider is seen riding a white horse, which usually stands for victory and doing what is right. This makes some people think the rider could be Jesus, especially since Jesus appears on a white horse later in Revelation 19, where he is called the Word of God and King of Kings. But because this rider is one of the 4 horsemen, who also bring war, hunger, and death, other people think he might stand for conquest or war. Some even think he might be the Antichrist or a false sense of peace. The rider carries a bow, which is different from the sword that the next horseman carries. This bow might show that the rider's influence reaches far, and can mean taking control in ways that are not just violent, like through politics or trickery. The crown on the rider's head shows he has power and rules, making it clear that he has control, but whether this is good or bad depends on how you look at it. As the first of the 4 horsemen, this rider starts a series of events that lead to the end of the world as described in Revelation. This makes him very important because his appearance marks the beginning of the end times and God's final judgment. Whether he is seen as a necessary force led by Christ or a sign of false peace that brings more trouble, this rider's role is crucial in understanding the message of Revelation. Number 1. Melchizedek. Melchizedek is a mysterious and important figure in the Bible. He shows up as the king of Salem and a priest of the Most High God. His story appears in Genesis 14, verse 18 to 20, during a key moment in Abraham's life. After Abraham wins a big battle, Melchizedek brings out bread and wine and blesses Abraham. He says, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand." This blessing shows that Melchizedek is a special priest, and Abraham respects him by giving him a tenth of everything he has. The mystery around Melchizedek gets deeper in the New Testament, especially in the book of Hebrews. In Hebrews 7 verse 1-3, it says, "Melchizedek is without father or mother, without genealogy, without beginning of days or end of life, resembling the Son of God." This means he is different from other priests because he does not have a recorded family line, and his priesthood is eternal. This makes Melchizedek similar to Jesus, whose priesthood is also forever. Melchizedek's city, Salem, is thought to be ancient Jerusalem, which later became a very important city for the Jewish people. His appearance before the creation of the Levitical priesthood or the consecration of Jerusalem as a holy city hints at the future spiritual importance of these places. When Melchizedek offers bread and wine, some people see this as a sign of the Christian practice of communion, connecting Melchizedek's priesthood to Jesus' sacrifice. Overall, Melchizedek's short but powerful story in the Bible gives us a deep look into the ideas of priesthood and kingship. He connects the Old and New Testaments, showing that God's plan for salvation is continuous and everlasting. Melchizedek helps us understand that some parts of God's plan go beyond time and human understanding. And that concludes our journey through the top 12 mysterious figures in the Bible. Each of these enigmatic characters offers a glimpse into the deeper mysteries of the biblical narrative, inviting us to ponder their true identities and roles. If you enjoyed this exploration, please like, share, and subscribe for more insights into biblical wonders and mysteries. Which mysterious figure intrigued you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, stay blessed and keep discovering the profound mysteries of the Bible.